Welcome to another edition of Our City. A few things going around the city of Elizabeth. Keep in mind that the city of Elizabeth and the County of Union have plenty of vaccines as well as booster shots available and flu shots. You can schedule or call or access us through ucnjvaccine.org, 908-820-4124, the City of Elizabeth website, elizabethnj.org, any of our social media sites, and please call us in order to schedule and get vaccinated. Keep in mind that COVID has not gone away, and personal responsibility is extremely important as we enter the winter months. I'd like to welcome you to this week's show, and I'm pleased to be joined by Miss Michele Ford, who is the president and CEO of Inroads to Opportunities. Michele, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here. I said this was my first time doing this.
Well, tell us about yourself. Have you come up in this type of organization? Well, give me your background or something.
So I've been in the field about 40 years, and I've been doing vocational rehabilitation, which is working with folks with disabilities to help them find their work personality and hopefully be able to join the competitive employment market.
Now, wasn't this called something else before it was Inroads to Opportunities? Because I toured your facility many years ago, but it was under a different name. Can you share
it? Was it here on West Grand Street?
No, it was in Roselle.
Okay, so we started, I think our first was on the grounds of Rundles Hospital, and then we were actually over here on West Grand Street for many years. So we started in 1959, and we were called the Occupational Center of Union County.
That's what it was.
Right. So in 2015, we updated our name to Inroads to Opportunities.
So why the name change? Was it because I kind of liked the new name. I was just curious, what was the thought process?
Well, one of the reasons is I used to get phone calls all the time. It was like, do you do occupational therapy? And I said, no, we don't do occupational therapy. We're probably one of the most misunderstood fields because we do vocational rehabilitation. So it caused a lot of confusion over the years. So I said, we're much more than just a vocational program. We work with individuals with developmental disabilities. We work with mental health issues. We do kind of everyday independent living as well as employment. So we do a lot. And so we wanted to name ourselves that we provide opportunities for people.
So are you a Jersey girl, Michele? Did
you come up here? I am a Jersey girl. I actually lived in Roselle Park when I first started with the Occupational Center. Now I live in Somerset County, but yes, born and raised, born in Newark, and raised in South Plainfield, New Jersey.
So you said you were with the Occupational Center. So have you been with this firm for 40 years? Oh, you have. Same company. Okay, good.
I've done I started as an employment specialist, so that was my first orientation. I have a master's from Seton Hall in rehabilitation counseling, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. So I started as an employment specialist, and I really think it's a wonderful thing to do. I've never left because I love the people.
So you have a passion for this type of work?
I have a passion for the people. The most undervalued and most valuable people I work with every day.
So if you were working as an employment specialist and now you're the CEO, tell us about the growth of the role and what you're doing now as a CEO, what your responsibilities are.
Well, I think, I say I make a lot of decisions, but I do a lot of maintenance. We have 3 big buildings. We also own a cafe. So I seem to be doing that more than anything else lately, especially during COVID. We tried to make everything more safe, more, just doing all those kinds of activities. So I said, I think I was a maintenance man for most of the last couple of years. But I think we do a lot of state, we depend on a lot of state funding. So you do a lot of advocacy, you do a lot of knocking on doors, and you do a lot of training. And then the money, of course,
Sure.
Making sure you have the money. But I love most when we start a new program or we can gather and develop more things for people so that they can have better opportunities. So that's what we're really involved in now, hoping that we can develop some better training programs so that we can better.
So how many total employees do you have, Michele?
So employees, we have 65. But we have about 350 people that come every day. And then we have another about 100 that are all over the county in different employment sites.
So would you say that most of your work is done by folks coming to you?
Yes.
And my notes tell me you had a banner year of recognition.
Oh, well.
Tell us about that.
I think it's just my staff, during COVID, we really had to be at our best, right? We all did. So my staff were supporting me in some of the decisions, which were not easy ones to make. We did not have participants coming. Of course, the governor said no from March till October, and really many of our participants didn't come back for a whole other year. So what do? How do you keep things going? We are an industry as well, so we do assembly, packaging, and we make sure we have those real work activities for our participants when they came back. So my whole staff had to be labeling cans, and whatever they could do, we never closed. So that, takes a little bit of guts, and my staff kind of said, you deserve a lot of recognition. The recognition is really about the field, and what we do is really, I think, very important.
So you raise another good question. Were you able to use some of the employees to actually go to some of your clients during COVID?
Well, in mental health, we were operational. So for one small population, we could never stop. So many of our participants still came in for their doctor's visits, for their medication checks, and we did a lot of telehealth during that time. But many of our other participants, we got grants to get some little tablets for them so that they could talk with us. We did a lot of that kind of outreach. So yes, we went to people's homes to make sure they were connected.
That's important.
It's so important, really, to keep people healthy. And that's why I think telehealth, if that could stay around, is a wonderful tool.
Because the stability and the continuity probably was extremely important for some of these folks.
Yes, and when the fear of this whole COVID thing, right? Think about that 10 times worse when you're by yourself and you might have a mental health issue on top of it. So being connected, some way to connect to someone, very important.
National Disability Awareness Month.
Yes, that's probably why I'm really here, because I think my message today is we really need employers. We need employers to think about getting a little out of themselves and looking to hire and be more diverse and inclusive. And that's always going to be the issue. We're plenty of us around that are doing the service work, but we really need the partnership with employers.
And how do you do that? I mean, is that when you were an employment counselor, I guess?
Oh my gosh, it was so difficult. But it was back when there were a lot of little employers. And believe it or not, they did take a risk, and it was great. But accommodation back then was a huge word. Today, every employer has to accommodate, right? You have people who want to stay home now after COVID. I think accommodation is probably kind of the workplace all over the place today. So it should be a lot easier, I think, to take a little leap of faith and think about employing folks.
Well, everything I read, COVID has increased mental stress.
It has. Right. So we all, as employers, regardless of the field, have to be more inclusive and diverse and think about our employees, right? So it should be an easy mix to then think about disability. It might be a little bit of a bigger step, but not really.
Do you know how many people with disabilities are actually employed?
Well, if you look at the national statistics, right, so 75% of the non-disabled are working between the ages of 16 and 64. Only 34% of people with disabilities are working.
That's an interesting number.
It is.
Yeah. Elizabeth has a rich role in history, starting as New Jersey's first capital to having many prominent individuals go to school here. Alexander Hamilton, Don Newcomb from the Brooklyn Dodgers, Secretary of Labor James Mitchell, Admiral Bull Halsey, Jonathan Dayton, and Elias Boonut, to name a few. Alexander Hamilton called Elizabeth home, and George Washington lunched here at Boxwood Hall before heading to New York to be sworn in as our first president in 1789. The locations that played host to these noted figures and impressive events have been preserved and commemorated through the numerous memorials or historic sites in our community. The home of Princeton University started here, known as the College of New Jersey. The home of the first colonial assembly and council meeting. And here, the home of our first governor of this state after the Declaration of Independence, William Livingston. Elizabeth has given us the first ice cream soda, the Singer sewing machine, the first submarine that was built for the U.S. Navy in 1897, the USS Holland 6, and the first assembly line automobile producer in the state, Durant Motors. From an ambitious and decorated past to an even more exciting future, the city of Elizabeth continues to experience remarkable revitalization and development. And thanks to our ever-growing population, our diversity is our greatest asset. The individuality of many cultures and our impressive history is what makes our city a great place to live, work, and visit. And organizations like yours keep striving to get that higher.
Of course we do, because...
So tell me, why is it important to have a firm hire someone with a disability when they could hire someone without a disability? How do you make that speech to the employer?
Well, I want to say to employers that you probably have many of your employees that are already non-disclosed have disabilities and you don't even know it, right? We are a nation that has a lot of issues, right? So
that's an understatement, Michelle.
mean, come on. So also, I think, like I said, I go to work every day, and my life is so much better because I go and I meet with folks who are from all walks of life, have all kinds of issues. It gives you a sense of doing something good, right? But they also make me feel great. They really appreciate the workplace. As much or as little that they can do, they feel it's important. They like to have meaningful activity, just like you and I do. So why not give them the opportunity that they can be great workers and great employees?
I would imagine there's a lot of business people up there who are very, very open to hiring.
We do have a lot of partners, I won't say, but we're always looking for more. Because really, we have folks that have college degrees, down to folks who maybe 1 or 2 steps is all they can do. So, don't sell people with disabilities short. They have a bunch of skills that they can offer an employer.
And are there benefits, or there tax credits, or tax?
There's tax credits, there's credits for if you do have to do an accommodation for someone. So our employment people are very versed on that. And we would love to partner with an employer. Our employment specialists will stay with that person, help them out, making sure that all is the transition to employment. Why not have an extra pair of hands to get you through your onboarding process, whatever the employer needs. And then we can help them through the process of tax credits or whatever.
So you mentioned Elizabeth was actually your home at one point many years ago. How else does Elizabeth play a role in your organization?
Well, I want to say that probably 50% of our participants in all the different programs are from Elizabeth, plus a large population of my staff are from Elizabeth. And we do have a lot of employers that we work with that are, from Elizabeth. So we have a very good connection. Plus, Elizabeth's very good to us. We do get some grants from Elizabeth. Elizabeth has helped us when we've had to do bathrooms over through the CDBG, and it's been great.
And you have a fundraiser coming up, Casino Night?
Yes, we've finally come back to Casino Night.
Well, we're finally getting people back together again in an indoor facility.
So important to be connected to people and actually get to see them and not just talk with them on the phone. It's a fun night. So our participants like it just as much as everybody else. And we do give away some great prizes, and we actually make a little money. We are putting a lift into one of our buildings to make sure it's totally accessible. So the money we raise.
When is Casino Night, and what's the timing of it?
Well, it just happened.
It just happened. Okay, how was it
you
then?
You were there.
I know. At the Elks Club.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great.
So how did it go? It was well attended when I was there.
Yes, it was great. We had Congressman Payne come and yourself, and we had the ombudsman from New Jersey, Paul Aronson, that we awarded. And it was a great night. We had about 160 people, and we gave out lots of prizes, and we made some money, and it's going to help us pay for the lift in our building.
That's great. The Elks Club, I'm sure, was a great host.
They are good, and they're very good to us. We have a participant holiday party we have there. We've probably had it there for the last 35 years, and they're really good to us when we
So
go.
will you continue trying to do more in-house gatherings in order to raise funds for the organization?
I hope so.
Anything new anything new creative coming up?
We're doing a whole bunch of little projects. So right now we're trying to grow some of our programs, and we just did a little thing for our transition students down in our cafe, cooking up careers, and that was recent. So we're doing different kinds of things right now that hopefully will help to encourage our students and our other participants to take some risks themselves about learning different activities for work.
You don't do any placement in housing, though. You strictly deal with educational and job opportunities, correct?
Right. It's more job opportunities.
More job opportunities. So a person walks into your office and they have a disability issue or a mental stress issue. What's the first thing you do? How do you work with that person?
Well,
it is.
Yes. Well, we have an intake personnel who kind of just go through the gamut of who the person is, where they might be best fit. If it's somebody with a mental health challenge, somebody with a developmental issue, or just somebody looking for employment that just needs an extra hand. So once we identify where, then we can have them meet with the directors in those programs, and that's where the process starts.
And you've demonstrated the benefits of employing folks with people. How do we contact you? How do people get a hold of you? What is the information? How do you get to Inroads? How do you get there?
So Inroads is located in Roselle, New Jersey, and our phone number is 908-241-7200. You can just ask the operator or kind of explain your situation, and she'll get you to the right person. Or you can look at our website, which is www.inroads.org.
And how many opportunities how many new people do you get a year?
I think we service about 550 people a year when you think about in and out. Sometimes we place people, we just help them to get that job, and then they're off.
And you never hear from them again.
And other folks, have to start with us and come in-house and develop a work personality. Maybe they don't really know too much about work. So we do have an assembly and packaging that we use as tools, but they do get a paycheck. And we have about 300 people in that program. And then we have our mental health program, and we have new people coming in all the time for that.
One final question, which is always, how do you measure success?
By the smiling faces and folks. I have been in the field 40 years. I still get a call from somebody I placed 40 years ago just to tell me how she's doing and ask how I'm doing. And it's a wonderful feeling.
And that's a success.
And that is
And a great feeling.
and a wonderful feeling.
Michele, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show this evening.
I want to thank you for letting me have this opportunity.
No, and I wish Inroads a great success, and we hope we can continue to help.
Yeah, and I hope you come back and see us at Casino Night next year.
This is Mayor Chris Bollwage. I want to thank Michele Ford from the Inroads Opportunities for being on the show this evening, and I look forward to seeing you next week on another edition of Our City.